Welcome back, Dune lovers. The developers finally are responding. I have fantastic news for you regarding the Deep Desert, especially if you're a solo player. We get a message from the creative director of PvE and PvP. Now this here is the most important sentence. Our goal is not to force PvE players to interact with a PvP system that they may have no interest in. Now in case you missed what's going on, currently you're playing Dune in the Haga Basin and you have a lot of fun. It's PvE with very limited PvP unless you go to a shipwreck. And it's a fantastic survival game gameplay loop. And as soon as you have your Ornithopter, you can actually go to the Deep Desert, where in the A row, the very first row, it's also PvE, unless you go to a shipwreck. But afterwards, it's free for all. You fly out there from the B to the I row to get yourself Stravidium, titanium, spice, all that kind of stuff to craft the Mark 6 gear. And if you're lucky, you'll meet no one. And if you're unlucky, 3, 5, 10, a whole goddamn guild might just hunt you down. The PvP in Dune Awakening is currently made for bullies. There's no fun 1v1 experience, a challenging battle with another player. Nah. You're most likely going to fly out there with your Scout Ornithopter. It has an inventory on it, and your opponent spams rockets because he doesn't have an inventory. That's your fight now. You're gonna fly away while he shoots rocket at you. Well, hey, and you're lucky if it's one player and you manage to get away. Fantastic PvP. But you have to engage with it if you want to have the Mark 6 gear, if you want to craft plastanium, if you want to get your spice melange. Yeah. What's the big change coming? We still believe in the core concept of the Deep Desert, an endlessly renewing location that resets every week and creates an activity loop for great rewards. Okay, they still want this to be the case, and I can understand that. Now the danger is going to shift though. Some areas of the Deep Desert will now be flagged as partial warfare PvE, while the deepest parts of the Deep Desert will remain as they currently are, high reward, high risk areas. How will this play out? The reality is that players are reporting being cut off from the endgame due to extremely competitive nature of the Deep Desert. Not really competitive nature, more or less getting zerged by big guilds. Starting soon, some areas of the Deep Desert will now be flagged as PvE areas where players will be able to explore testing stations and harvest tier 6 resources without the threat of conflict they may not want. It is important to note that the top tier of the game is balanced around guilds and groups, so people will still find it grindy if they play solo. This refers to the cost of items, because in order to make a spice refinery, medium, 135 spice melange, 13,500 spice dust already, unless you build it in the Deep Desert for 68, a single armor piece, 30 spice melange, so another 3,000 spice, and so on. It is expensive to craft Mark 6 gear, but now you can at least get it. The deepest parts of the Deep Desert will remain as they currently are, high reward, high risk areas. This means for the future that not only the A row is going to be PvP, probably the B, C, D, and E row as well, so you can in meaningful ways farm Stravidium fibers, plastanium, that we can actually get the stuff we want, that we have the chance to go for the testing stations, for Forgotten Caves, for the shipwrecks, without getting zerged. But if we're looking for big spice fields, the largest ones, the ones where Shia can come and eat up the whole thing, they're still going to be out there and they're still going to be competed for. Since I don't have a spice harvester, I actually don't care. Those small and medium spice fields are enough for me. This is the sentence I refer to. Landraads control points, shipwrecks, and the largest spice field within this region of the Deep Desert will remain War of Assassins PvP flagged. That's not all of it though. PvP itself has plenty of issues that need to be addressed. We're taking steps in that direction with our first changes to Scout Ornithopters. Because right now, a Scout Ornithopter can have the inventory or can have rockets. But if it has the inventory, it doesn't have an advantage over a rocket player, apart from being able to store things. But the rocket player is still as fast as the inventory player. He has the full maneuverability of the Scout Ornithopter. So why even build an assault one if you can hunt down other scout players with your Scout Ornithopter with rockets? Therefore, the best option, the best Ornithopter to make is just a scout one. But you put rockets on it, and that shouldn't be. There should be a distinction that the Assault Ornithopter has a reason to exist. And if you build the Scout Ornithopter, but with rockets, you should lose maneuverability that an actual inventory player has a chance due to good flying skills to escape. This leads to scout ornithopters with rocket launchers attached will have their speed maneuverability reduced. Rockets fired from scout ornithopters will have increased heat generation. Thrusters will provide max speed bonus regardless of wings, ensuring that thruster-equipped scouts will be the fastest vehicle in the game. A new T5 infantry rocket launcher will be added to help improve the dynamics of vehicle ground combat. That generally is needed because the one rocket launcher you get is a Mark 6 rocket launcher right now. How does it make sense to have a Mark 6 rocket launcher if I cannot craft it unless I'm already in the deep desert? But I would need the Mark 6 rocket launcher on my dude to technically shoot down someone with an ornithopter because I have inventory on my scout ornithopter. But I would like to fight him, but I can't because I need to farm the deep desert first to get myself a Mark 6 rocket launcher. Yeah, thank you. There are additional changes to mechanics like respawn timers, vehicle storage tools, hand scanners, and other mechanics that are being abused in the deep desert. There's, for example, a hand scanner, a unique blueprint that scans only for water, and it actually reveals humans if they're in their base. Then we also have people instantly respawning, which is kind of weird, and there's some cheaters going around that can actually steal your vehicles, which is triple weird. The intended dynamic of deep desert PvP in Dune is that unless you really mess up, you always have the option to retreat in good order with whatever you've managed to claim so far. And I like this. It shouldn't be that first contact of an enemy, everything falls. I have no chance, right? He has rockets, I have inventory, I'm done. No, there needs to be a way that with good gameplay, I can escape. If you're smart and vigilant, you never have to fight if you don't want to. If you run, you have to call a halt to whatever task you were pursuing, but that should always be a choice. PvP should happen when both parties decide they want to fight over a location. This is the most important sentence. I don't want to have PvP shoved down my throat. If I want to PvP, I want to PvP. If I want to gather resources, guess what? I want to gather resources right now. They generally also want to work in combined arms. They want to promote infantry gameplay, that we actually get tanks, that people are on the ground with their rocket launchers and doing things. Right now, if you're not in an ornithopter, you get eaten by a worm. And that's it. There's not enough islands there. There's not this grand, like, 3 people walking next to each other, shooting down ornithopters, protecting their tank, and the tank rolling out. And these things don't happen. There are no large-scale cool combats. It's like ornithopters going around and pew-pew-pewing at each other. They're planning on things to make this work, to actually have real battles where people fight on the ground as well. However, they're planning to do that. And we're also touching down on the Landraad, because right now the activities that the Landraad asked you to do will become more varied as we flesh out the world with more content and activities. Currently, it's a little bit boring, and obviously you need to go in the deepest deep desert to partially get some of these going. I have to go into a research station in the I row, G row, whatever, right? I'll be hunted down potentially, only to do something for the Landraad, where the actual activity for the Landraad is a PvE activity though. I go in the research station, I kill some Atreides, some Harkonnen troops. That's PvE. But yet I have to go through the struggle of PvP, you know, being hunted, being butthurt, to get there, to do a real PvE thing. Weird. They're ending with, we will keep adding endgame activities and more PvE content to the game going forward. Both free and paid content in the form of DLCs and expansions. Generally speaking, there seems to be an emphasis on boss fights and dungeons actually coming, and to flash out the overworld map more, because right now the overworld map isn't used. What I would like to see is that instead of leaving Haga Basin to fly only into the deep desert, I can fly to Fremen temples that are being revealed by sandstorms. And those Fremen temples are PvPvE. So there are enemies I can kill, there are other players I can kill, like Escape from Tarkov, Marauders, but I can grab loot, and then I try to leave this temple again without getting shot down, and bring that loot back to my base, or shipwrecks that crashed in the overworld. This is something I would personally like to see. PvP that I choose to do. Not PvP that's being shoved down my throat while I'm just trying to exist and live my merry, happy life. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Is this a good change? Is this kind of bad? I've heard voices from both sides, and I'm going to be honest, mostly the people that complain are the big bully guilds that like to big bully people, that anyways don't have competition, that anyways don't have anyone fighting them. And yeah, so those are the people that say this is bad. So far, I've only seen people being happy about this. But what are you saying? And why are you not building your base there? Do it right now. Thank you very much.